popular radio host, former Bronco great, Fox Sports, joining us, Three Rings. There is, you probably hear it from your callers, which is, Sean did not connect. And my takeaway is Sean watched the film before they ever worked together and probably didn't like what he saw. What's your whole take on Sean had it out for Russell Wilson?
Well, I think it's preposterous, first and foremost. I mean, like, what do we know about Sean? You know Sean. I've known Sean for well over a decade. Can he be a tyrant? Absolutely. Can he be a jerk? Sure. Does he have the biggest ego in the building? You're damn right he does, right? And guys that have big egos that want to win multiple Super Bowls and be the first coach ever to win a Super Bowl in 2 different locations don't sabotage themselves. And here's the other thing that's absolutely insane. This is insanity to me. And I call these people the Rusties that put these things out there. Sean Payton loves his players. And, I asked Sean Payton about game planning several years ago as I was getting ready to do games. And I said, hey, man, give me kind of a thought process on how you go about game planning. First thing I do is put my players in the best position to win. I don't put my player in a position to lose, because if I do, that's my fault, right? I don't say, hey, this right tackle just needs to hold up. If he can't block that defensive end, guess what? I change my game plan. I don't attack something. I put them in the best position to win. And I went out to camp when he was with the Saints. And I walked out to camp and he goes, hey, come in here. They're stretching. It's training camp. Stretching. Come in. Let me show you what I've done here. I spent all this money on the locker room, right? And the guys have, air conditioners in their lockers, and they have drying units for their shoulder pads. And we spent all this money in the training room, and we've got a walk-in hot tub and a walk-in cold tub, and we've got a cryovac area, and all this money. You go up to the coach's office, it looks like a scene from that 70s show. The carpet hasn't been changed since the 70s. His office is a box. No money has been spent up there. He loves and cares about his players. And to sit there and say he would actually sabotage Russell Wilson is preposterous. It's one of the most stupid things I have ever heard. And, oh, by the way, he's in charge. So the coaches said, hey, man, you know what? Your job is to fix our organization, not to fix Russell Wilson. So if he can play, great. If he can't, we'll move on. That's what they did.
They moved on from Jerry Jeudy, Justin Simmons. Simmons I like, but he's a safety, and Seattle got rid of 2 of them. He's the furthest player from the ball, from the quarterback. So people say running backs don't get paid. Yes, they do, because they work in unison with the quarterback. Safeties are not getting paid, at least this free agent spending spree. But I look at Jerry Jeudy, and I'm a Cortland Sutton guy. I think he just makes more consistently big plays. I'm not a Jeudy guy. Some people kept telling me he was going to be great. I kept waiting. How did that land? Because he was a top pick. How did that land in Denver?
Yeah, I think that most people in Denver are glad that he's gone. I mean, the 15th overall pick. And I always say that football is really easy for football players. It's really hard for athletes. And talent is wasted on talented people. He's exceptionally talented, just not a very good football player. And, oftentimes you watch him play, his hands are made of feet. He drops balls all the time, easy catches. He does not get involved in the blocking game. He's got rabbit ears. He's worried about what I'm saying. Go out there and perform. And then when it comes to secondary routes, like when you're not the primary, Jerry Jeudy is not running a great route, so he's not drawing the attention of the defense. He is not drawing in coverage so you can throw it over his head. So those are the things that I continuously look at on film, and I'm like, dude, this guy's a bust. I mean, think about it. You were a first overall pick. CeeDee Lamb was taken behind you. Justin Jefferson was taken behind you. T. Higgins was taken behind you. Pittman was taken behind you. Like, all those guys are way better than you. And so a 5th and 6th rounder for a former first rounder there's only one way you can qualify that as a bust. And I want to talk about the safety thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because about 4 or 5 years ago, safety was the most coveted position, right, on defense. They were paying guys $15 million a year. Now guys are getting $6 or $7 million a year. And I called it on the Stink of Truth podcast, I called it the Fangio effect. So everybody's playing that shell defense, right, where those safeties are sitting at 12 yards. And now all of a sudden they've become They haven't become that middle of the field eraser like Earl Thomas was back in the day and the guys that were getting paid. Now we're playing that shell, and we're making you throw it underneath, rallying up, making tackles. And then when we get into the red zone, all those guys go from 12 to 14 yards to about 8 yards. So you're effectively running a 9-man box in the red zone.
Yep.
And it's about making people kick field goals. I call it the Fangio effect because everybody is playing a version of Vic Fangio's defense. And all of a sudden, you've watched these safeties that 5 years ago were getting $15 million a year, that there was $103 million on the open market of safeties that have been cut just the last couple of days.
Finally, because we want to keep it on the Broncos today, Mark Schlereth joining us, and he knows the Broncos as well as anybody at this national level. Russell to the Steelers. It is a Mike Tomlin, defense first, toughness matters culture. So Russ goes from an offensive coach who can do some finesse, clever stuff, to a guy that doesn't have much interest on that side of the ball. It's also a tough culture. It's very Baltimore. You gotta be able to be one of the guys. That's why Lamar's a great fit in Baltimore. He's one of the guys. Is Russ going to work in Pittsburgh? What do you make of it?
Yeah, well, I will say this. They're giving the best opportunity to make it work because they are spending that money on the defensive side of the ball. And Arthur Smith is the one guy, and I said this a couple of months ago when he got fired from Atlanta and got hired to Pittsburgh. He's the one guy, to me, that makes the most sense for Russell Wilson. And the reason I say that is because Arthur Smith understands the running game. Arthur Smith, was a former offensive lineman at North Carolina. Arthur Smith really understands the running game. And, multiple tight end formations, keeping things big. And one of the things that does for you, because let's face it, Russell does not see the middle of the field very well. He does not throw with anticipation. He does not throw guys open in the middle of the field. You have to eliminate some of those progression throws in the middle of the football field because he just doesn't make them. He refuses to make them. That's just the reality of his game. But when you run the ball effectively, go back to Seattle. They had an elite level defense. They ran the ball with beast mode, right? And what you get when you do that is you get certainty as a defense. So when that happens, you have to get into single high alignments, right? Middle of field close, single high safety, which gives you access on the outside. You get one-on-ones on the outside. So if you've got space, you can throw it underneath. But if you get pressed, you get go routes. And those go routes turn in, even if it's a cover 3 zone, it turns into cover 1, man-to-man, any vertical release. So you get certainty on the outside. Those are the things that Russell can do.
Yeah.
Right. So that to me is, hey, let's play stellar defense. We know he's going to take sacks. We know he's going to do things that are going to put us behind, in harm's way. Let our defense bail us out of that. Let's run the heck out of the ball, and let's keep it simple on the offensive side of the ball. And maybe, just maybe, we can have some success. Even with that said, Burrow's coming back. They got Derrick Henry in Baltimore. The Cleveland Browns won 11 games with 3 quarterbacks last year. You still handicap the Steelers as the 4th best team in that division.
Yeah, that's what Vegas did. Didn't give him any love. Mark Schlereth, great seeing you as always. Now go work on that lawn because I know you've been ignoring it for months.
I fertilized mine, my son's, and my neighbor's lawn today. Boom.
And he's not lying. Mark Schlereth, great to have him at Fox. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.